Good afternoon. I am Grady Stevenson, the Executive Director of the Department of Community Relations for the City of Cleveland. On behalf of Mayor Frank G. Jackson, I welcome you to the City of Cleveland's virtual Black History Month program. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love." Today's honoree exemplifies that statement. He has love for people and a love for Cleveland. Prior to the pandemic, he was working to do the Lord's work by helping the needy, and those efforts did not cease during the global pandemic. If anything, they increased. From signing folk up for a 2020 census to raising funds to provide laptops to students so that they could continue to learn. This brother has been fighting the good fight. This past weekend, he was a part of the coat drive on the city's west side and honoring first responders in Cleveland, in the Cleveland Police Department, through offering assistance with food, registering for the census, and voting registration. He is working to strengthen our families. Here to have a conversation with one of Cleveland's champions is Latoya, a member of the Black History Committee. Latoya?
Thank you, Director. Shelley, did you want to begin before I jumped into the interview with Billy?
Yes, I will, because I wrote that for him prior to us knowing how we were going to do it. So, all right. Sorry about that. All right. So it is my pleasure to introduce Billy Sharp. He's the president of the Urban League of Greater Cleveland Guild and so much more. He is also the founder of Billy Sharp Omnimedia, a company that produces documentaries, educational DVDs, CDs, and offers community benefit consulting as well as other consulting. Most importantly, Mr. Sharp is a member of the community who believes in service and utilizes his various connections to provide much needed services for Cleveland residents. As the director has indicated, from food drives to voter and census registration, Billy Sharp is making a difference in our city. Thank you, Billy, and welcome. Now I will pass it on to Latoya.
Thank you, Shelley. So, Billy, thank you so much for being here with us today. You've been a friend of the city of Cleveland, and it is our pleasure to speak with you. So the first question that I have for you today is about some of the work that you've done. So Shelley has touched on it, Director has touched on it as well, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about your work with the Urban League Guild, specifically Mastering Generosity Unlimited, and your work throughout the community.
Okay, so and thank you guys for having me. You guys got an extraordinary team over there. Some of those events that you listed off just happened. Most people aren't that up to date. So thank you again for having me. In regards to my work with the Urban League, I'm the Urban League Guild president, and I actually sit on the board of the Urban League. The Urban League Guild is the volunteer arm of the Urban League. So when the Urban League calls, the Guild answers. We host events, we volunteer, but the Guild actually has its own programming. We have a voter awareness committee and a health awareness committee as well. That's where we get into what we do in the community as far as the food banks, trying to connect people to services. My other organization, Mastering Generosity, is the same thing. We just connect people to services. So we work really closely with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. We work closely with Earl B. Turner and the Clerk of Courts. We host In the Neighborhood, things like that. So we are just trying to get people to resources. And certainly in the time of the pandemic, those skills came in handy.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that's a great segue into my second question for you. So we can all agree that 2020 has been a year like no other. You know, now we're going into 2021, but both in terms of the pandemic and the fight for social justice, it was a very, very impactful time. The mayor has said that the pandemic further exposed some of the inequities and the disparities that were already present in our community. So in what way do you think both the pandemic as well as the fight for social justice in 2020 has affected your work? And where do you think that we go from here as a community, having been impacted by those two things?
I mean, the mayor was right. It really exposed the need of underserved people. Our workload did not get easier; it got harder. We had to bump our food banks up at the beginning of the pandemic because we had seniors that were shut in. So we had to bump it up to 2 food banks a month. We added a delivery service part of it. We got St. Vincent's Charity Hospital to come in and give donate free PPE. So we started a one-stop shop where you could pull up to our food bank and get information and get PPE and get food. So our workload got harder. It didn't get easier.
Hmm, okay, and there had to be a lot of adjustments as well, because I know that there's a lot of things that have to be done in person, and then there were things probably that you had to do virtually as well, right?
Yeah. So in regards to the food bank, when the pandemic hit, we went to a three-pronged operation where we had to move everything outside of the facility where people could simply just pull up in their car was the safest way to do it. We actually suspended some of our senior members that were volunteers just out of the abundance of caution for their safety. We had a walk up where you could still walk up and get food, but we used sanitizer, glove, masks. We really drilled down on the PPE aspect, and then we started the home delivery part of it, where if you were a shut-in senior, we'd actually deliver food to your home twice a month. And the food, let me tell you, we were serving over 300 families per food bank. We've delivered tons of food in 2020.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. You're definitely doing a lot of hard work in the community. So where do you think that as a community we go from here because of all the things that have happened with the different movements in 2020?
Well, one thing I've learned is as people have tried to divide Cleveland into two sides of a city, the pandemic certainly showed us that we're all in this together. Nobody had a heavier weight. Some areas, the impoverished areas, were underserved. But I like the way that community leaders stepped up. I mean, we had food banks around the city to help people get much needed food, much needed supplies, and information. That was one thing that we did at our food bank, and working very closely with the city. Remember, during the pandemic, we had an election going on and we had the census going on, and both of those things had to happen irregardless of the census. So we had to work really closely with the city. I really appreciate you guys providing us with information. So our people, as they came through the food bank, were informed, they were nourished. We helped as much as we could.
Okay, great. So, in doing a bit of research today for you, I noticed that the Urban League Guild, you have an upcoming event, and the theme for your event is building bridges and removing barriers, I believe. So I thought that was actually a good point to touch on, because we would love to hear, what do you think are some ways that you and the Guild have built bridges and removed some barriers?
So Director Stevens touched on it. Our Coffee with a Cop event that we started with Dr. Yvonne Pointer and Hope Haven allows us to build a bridge when we were going through that civil unrest, show our first responders, not only for the pandemic, but what was going on at that time, that we appreciate them. So that was one way that we were trying to build bridges, have conversations with police officers. We air those live on Facebook so people can see us, go in and honor our first responders. Taking barriers away during the pandemic, the food thing, I can't stress enough, was really a big barrier for underserved people. And we did the best we could to take that barrier away. We not only did our location, we went around to several locations, and people who were already giving out food, we offered, hey, we can come and do the PPE part and information part if you guys would just hand out the food. So it was all hands on deck. So that was one way we took some barriers away from underserved people in our community.
That's great. And not just during the pandemic, but if there's anything prior to, or just in the grander scheme of things that you wanted to touch on, you can mention that as well.
Well, I think there's a communication gap. Everybody knows about the digital divide, so people, we do a lot of our communication through social media. A lot of people are not social media savvy. That's another reason we moved our food bank outside, so people could just simply see us visually, not even knowing that that was the day that we're doing it, but they see us giving the food away or information away, so they pull up. So I think we need a better communication mechanism for those of us who are not privileged to have the internet and don't go to Ward Club meetings and so on and so forth. So getting the word out about the resources that are out there, I think, is most important moving forward because people need them.
Okay. I noticed that, with the Guild, there's a lot of young people that are involved, which is great. What do you think our young people of all races really in America should know about the concept of race? And then specifically, what would you tell them about being an African American or Black person in the United States today?
Okay, so I'll take that one backwards. I'll answer the last question first. Just being really honest, it's difficult being an African American in the United States. As you guys have eloquently listed, I do a lot of things in the community, but when I get in my car and leave an event and the police are behind me, having just served coffee with a cop, I still grip the steering wheel a little bit harder just because in the back of my mind, I know what the potential is for a situation to go wrong.
Right.
For our young people, I would say keep doing you, be yourself, strive always to help each other. We have to do this together. This can't be one person doing it alone. We have to help each other. So unity would be my word to if I'm saying anything to young people.
It's great. That's actually a really good note to leave with the young people, unity. And so my last question for you, Billy, is in regards to the Guild and young people again. We know that the Guild is the volunteer arm of Urban League. How do you think Cleveland's young people can join, make a plug for them to join, and how can they make a difference?
Well, we're like you said, we're an all volunteer organization. We accept volunteers, young and old. You can go to any of our social media platforms. You can go to mine, Billy L. Sharp, or you can go to the Urban League Guild of Greater Cleveland, or you can go to the Urban League's website. There's a comment box. You can reach out to us. We accept volunteers all day.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you, Billy. I will now turn it over to Shelley for the awards presentation.
Okay, that was not supposed to be me, so I'm going to ask a couple more questions.
Oh,
We'll try and hedge our bets and give him a couple more minutes back across the street. So, Billy, I think what I would like for you, I understand it is the volunteer arm of the Urban League, the Guild, that is the volunteer arm of the Urban League. But for those listening who aren't that familiar with what the Urban League does and how being a part of the Guild and or the Urban League can be advantageous for our young people, could you go into that a little?
Okay, so historically, the Urban League has been around minority finance, helping us get homes, helping us start businesses. So we do a lot of that to this day. We've added some stuff. We do some entrepreneurial training. We have a big loan operation where if your business has been in operation for 2 years or more, there's an opportunity to get a loan where you can expand the business, hire more employees. And the Urban League doesn't just tell you, if you apply and you don't get it the first time, we actually send you through classes, get your books in order so you can actually obtain the loan. It's been a really successful event. I think all of the money that we paid out has been paid back or on its way to being paid back. So the Guild now would do what the part that we do as far as the direct food bank, clothes giveaway, that type of thing, because that operation in an organization still needs to happen. So that's kind of been the Guild's specialty. So the Urban League itself is over 100 years old. The Guild is coming up nationally right behind that at about 80 years old.
Okay, that sounds good. would you say that of late, what are the numbers like in terms of participation and membership? Is that something that the Guild and or the Urban League are having problems recruiting, or are you all doing well?
We're doing okay. Obviously, we always need more volunteers, but the fact that we broadcast everything and people can see the work, you'll find somebody that saw an event that we did and want to join just simply because they want to get involved with that particular event. So we're always pushing. The end of this month, we have a membership drive event at the end of this month, trying to get more members because the work is great. I think the downside to the pandemic, we have to be cognizant of people's age as they want to volunteer. So the senior members of the Guild that I had and in Master Generosity, we had them simply at home on their computers, working their networks from home, giving out positive information, correct information about the pandemic. If it's just simply making a phone call to a neighbor or through their social media networks, just sending out positive information, correct information, I'm sorry, that the CDC was sending out and so that the city was sending out. So that was a way that even though they couldn't do in person, like coming to our food banks, that was a way that they could help out as well.
So that would be a challenge that you found with the pandemic, as you had mentioned earlier about individuals not having tools or service in order to connect. So with that being said, do you guys send out anything via mail? Where can, say, someone who hears about this and shares it with someone who does not have computer access, is there a number or something that you would suggest that they call so that they could get the information if they don't have computers?
Yes, so they always can call me on my office number is 216-673-4408, 216-673-4408. And the number to the Urban League, 216-622-0957, 216-622-0957.
Thank you, Billy. Okay, now we have a few people who have joined us. If you have a question for Mr. Sharp, you can place it in the chat and we will address it. Somebody has become unmuted, it sounds like.
So if you don't mind, if you do have a question, can you read it to me? Because I can't, for some reason, I can't see the chat.
Oh, no, I'll read it. I'll read it to you. Okay. If we get any, but I don't see anything as of yet. So I know that you had a couple of events this weekend. What do you have coming up this week?
So this week we will be wrapping up in the city of Cleveland our Coffee with a Cop event at the 2nd District at 9 a.m. We'll be delivering coffee and Danish over there to them, provided by one of our big community partners, McDonald's. And we'll have our our membership event later that day at 12 noon virtually. So you can seek out our Facebook page to get that information or the Urban League website.
Now, I guess this was a question. You said one of your partners was McDonald's. I know that I noticed something that said Chicago Chicken and Waffles has been. How is it that you have formulated and gotten these businesses to be a part?
Coming from the aspect of the need of the people. And most organizations or businesses, all you have to do is ask. And these, to be frank and really honest, these are relationships that I had with business owners before in some other work. So these businesses, if they were around me, they're given in some kind of way to the community because I'm not around businesses that don't give back to our community.
Okay.
So Billy, I have another question. What can people in the community do to help your work?
Spread the word. spread the word. If you come to one of our events, spread the word. If you see one of our events, just spread the word, because there are people out there, as I alluded to before, there are people out there that don't go to Ward Club meetings. They don't get into the normal spaces where we can see them, but their need is still great. So we largely operate through word of mouth, and the people who come to our events, they are consistent events, so people know on the second Saturday of every month where our food bank will be, and several others and other events that we have. So spread the word.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we tried to wait. It does not look like he's going to make it back. But on behalf of the city and the Black History Month Committee, Billy, we again thank you for the work that you have been doing in the city. We have a plaque that we will provide to you, but virtually we want to present it to you. So I will read the inscription, and in the next week or so, the director and I will bring you your plaque. But it says, City of Cleveland 2021 Black History Month Committee, strengthening Black families through the quest for equity and equality, would like to honor Billy L. Sharp for your continued leadership and tenacity, February 2021. Thank you again, Billy.
No, thank you, guys.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I mean, we got to get back to work. I'm leaving here to go to some event planning when we go off the air. So back to work.
So you're always on the go, helping out the community.
As much as I can.
All right. So I will give you all an update on what's coming up. As you know, we are in our final week of Black History. We have an event that will air tomorrow with Dr. Frederick Harris of Cleveland Clinic. That is a pre-recorded interview, but Dr. Harris gave some very good information, particularly as it deals with the vaccine, coronavirus. So you might want to tell your family and friends to be sure to tune into the City of Cleveland TV 20 Facebook page to hear that. He gave us a lot of good information. Thursday, we will continue our programming, and the topic is public service, and the Black History Month Committee will be honored. That will be a WebEx similar to this one. And then we will close out the week on Friday with equity and equality in education. We will have Dr. Jacqueline Chisholm. She is the president and chief executive officer. And I'm trying to make sure I say her organization properly now because they've recently changed the name. They are no longer the Council of Economic Opportunities of Greater Cleveland. They are now Step Forward. So she will be joining us on Friday to close out our Black History celebration. I thank you all for tuning in. I thank you again, Billy, for your work. I thank you very much, Latoya, for your work as the moderator of this event. And we look forward to seeing you all on our next events. Be safe. Remember to wear your mask, social distance, and wash your hands. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank
You
you.
too.